going to talk about a different kind of hurricane season. For some of us who have experience with, alcohol and substance abuse, we call it the hurricane season between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, which is actually somewhat disastrous for some of us in recovery. It also creates an opportunity for people to get help. And locally and nationally, there are hotlines and there are 12-step programs and there are treatment centers and all sorts of ways to get help if you have a substance abuse problem. What we're also going to be talking about is driving under the influence and what that really means. So, my suggestion to all is if you think you're drinking a little too much at that party, call an Uber, have a friend, don't drive.
Great advice.
Absolutely. And speaking of parties, it is the party season in addition to being the hurricane season. So you, as the person that are either hosting a party, or if you're in a business where there's a party being hosted, there are a couple things that you have to be mindful of on the liability front. That if you serve someone in your home, for instance, that is a habitual drunk,
I'd call
then you could be liable should they go out and get into a car accident after they leave your home. As well, there are many of us that will allow a child or someone under the age of 21 to have a sip of alcohol, but if they get too much alcohol, they're in your home and then they leave and get in a car accident, you could be liable as well. So it's certainly something to be concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely. Uber, Lyft, taxis, those are great ways to combat this. But if you make an unfortunate choice and cause an accident while you're impaired, you could be subject to punitive damages because the law regards drinking and driving as such a willful, malicious act that you can personally be responsible for it, as opposed to your insurance providing coverage for it for a negligent act. This rises above that. So beyond your insurance policy, you could be responsible for punitive damages, and they're designed to punish you for your, bad act, essentially. So what would punish me versus what would punish some, billionaire would be different, but it's designed to punish that individual person. So there's a whole trial mechanism that's involved if it got that far. Most of those cases a lot of them settle out because most people don't have assets to pay punitive damages, but it's something to be concerned about.
Now, in these cases,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
In these cases, when you're talking about punitive damages, if you don't have punitive damages in a case, you can't go and request the other party's bank records and all of their financial information, but you can in a punitive damage case.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is on the table, so it's a really big deal.
And this is not to mention the criminal aspects of all of this. Right, there's that. And, there's very serious criminal penalties for driving under the influence. And this is, after that piece of it, it's this piece of it. So generally speaking, it's a really bad idea to drive impaired.